This is not very good, is it? Am I live? What's happening? We're live! Welcome, guys. We are finally back. Miami qualifying, sprint qualifying. Now, just over 10 minutes away. We're back to racing. Welcome. Get your comments on this one. Who have you got for pole position? We've had, if you've missed it, FP1 practice, 5 o'clock UK time. We've got Charles Leclerc, who took top spot, followed by Max Verstappen, who was 3/10 behind. Then came Oscar Piastri. The Mercedes were way down. Kimi Antonelli and George Russell both running into issues before the race got underway. Not before the race got underway, but in pre-practice sessions, and they're on the back foot going into Miami. They were the top dogs, the guys to beat. I'll have the live timing up for you guys once that starts. It shouldn't be very long, to be honest with you, before we get that in. Like I say, just over 10 minutes to go. Absolutely brilliant to get some action back in Miami. But the Ferraris do look good. We've seen the Macarena rear wing on the Red Bull, and I think they've done what looks like a really good job on that one. I mean, Ferraris came up with the idea, but Red Bull seem to have shown how it's done at the moment, because that flips up and closes very, very quickly on that Red Bull. It'll be interesting to see how they do in race conditions. But I did see a side-by-side run that they shown with the Ferrari and Max Verstappen. I think it was Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen side-by-side, if you've seen it. And that Red Bull does look really, really quick down the straights. Not sure, obviously, they've got a really strong engine, hence, they were potentially close enough to Mercedes where they say they might not get the ado effect of being able to upgrade their engine. And we'll see how that one works out in the end. But yeah, we know they've got a good engine, but obviously that Macarena wing clearly doing some good down that straight. It's clearly in the corners where they were slower than the Ferraris. The Ferraris, I think everybody's sort of agreed the chassis of that Ferrari is probably the best on the grid. It's just they've not got the best engine as comparable to Red Bull or Mercedes. And we'll see how that works out. Other thing to look out for, actually, is the FIA did also ban the trick that both Mercedes and Red Bull actually were using. Yes, surprisingly, you'll hear that Red Bull were using it despite being way down in qualifying, is that they were once they on their fast lap, they were using the whole battery more than what's probably allowed anyway. But they were going one step further, fully draining the battery to get the absolute maximum on their lap. But that meant that there was a massive cut-off period, and then we tend to see the Mercedes go really, really slow for a part of the lap there. Effectively, the battery just was shut off while it regained some charge. But they're not able to do that anymore. That was it dropped as well. That was actually before we got full confirmation of what the regs would look like. So we'll see how that one goes. But yeah, interesting to see how this qualifying session will go. Interesting as well, obviously, like we said, is that the difference? Is that the 3/10 that we've seen in free practice between what Mercedes were able to do and what Ferrari were able to do? I remember it was a bigger gap to Mercedes actually from Ferrari. It was 3/10 to Max Verstappen. So we'll see how that one plans out. Sorry about that, a bit thirsty. Egg smeg. Yeah, so not long to go. Finally back. So we've got some racing back in F1. That's the best thing. Love F1. Let's move me along and let's get some of the. Getting live timing screen up. Why can I not see what I want to see? There we go. Let's that sorted. So we fixed this up. So who have you got for pole position in Miami for the sprint race? It's a short one, obviously. Just if you just don't remember how a sprint qualifying runs, we've got three shorter sessions compared to what you get in the normal qualifying. Obviously, they're going to run on two different tires, the two mediums for Q1, Q2 session, and then they get the final Q3 session. They get to run the soft tires. Where they get basically just give it full beans. So let's see how that one works out for everyone. But yeah, lots and lots of upgrades. Ferrari coming with 11 upgrades, the most upgrades of anybody on the grid. So let's see how that one works out for them. It should be interesting. But McLaren have come strong, haven't they? That's interesting. Will the Mercedes be ready for this session? Hopefully, for their sake, we don't see what we've seen in free practice. The last thing they want is the engine issues to find its way back into that car pre-session. So far, dry conditions tomorrow as well, but there's actually real threat now for these thunderstorms come Sunday. And a lot of drivers raising a lot of issues and concerns with driving these cars in wet conditions. We've seen obviously the issues that they have with speed differentials, and a lot of them saying they're effectively passengers in this car. A lot of the time, the computer algorithms sort of picking when the cars are basically in using the battery or not. A lot of that's just down to an algorithm, and they're a bit fearful of having sort of quite significant crashes when it comes to wet conditions. So we'll see how that pans out if we do get wet weather conditions. But they are now seeming like there's quite a strong chance to see thunderstorms, and that might affect the race on Sunday. If we do get that, and it does go the way the drivers are saying, we'll either see a surprise winner, or we'll get a very long red flag period. But hopefully we do get some racing, because that's the last thing we want when we finally get back to the racing, is people just stopping because they can't do it around the circuit. But now, yeah, we're getting in there just a couple of minutes now before we get the cars on track in anger. All talk about the regulations and how good or bad a job or how much it might change the racing. Well, like I said, if you watch my preview to this weekend, is they've basically just said it's going to be not a massive change, so they're not expecting anything significant in terms um, of changes. Lewis Hamilton saying he didn't really notice a massive difference between the old car and what they've got under the new regs. But what is obvious, and what was really obvious when you did see free practice, if you did watch that the cars were actually on the edge and on the limit on a lot of the corners. There still is some clipping. There was still some lifting down at the very end of the long straight here in Miami. But this is a circuit actually where they've said the energy usage or the issues that they've seen, obviously, which were massive in Miami with recharging the battery, here is probably one of the best for these regulations, and the best for charging the battery. They've got a lot of slow section around this circuit, a lot of heavy braking, so they tend to recover the battery pretty well. They have said, this one interesting thing that we've seen from the rules was that they were moving the megajoules down from 8 down to 7. My reading of that was it'll basically be 7 at pretty much every circuit as a maximum. And in other circuits, we'll see it drop 1 down from that down to 6 megajoules. But what we've actually seen here is that it was meant to be 9 megajoules. It's going to be only 8. So effectively, they're still sort of looking at it circuit by circuit, and it looks like the regulations are not going to be pretty much set in stone throughout. Like I thought, a lot of people that have said, and if you watch much of it on F1 TV or Sky Sports, they've all sort of said, expect these regulations to change. This is the first step. If it doesn't go far enough, they will go further. So that's also promising. But also something to watch, that this is going to be one of the better events for this whole new F1 regulations, the way the battery works and the charging of it. They don't seem to have too much issues with it. So overall, we should have seen more or less lift and coast here, less of the downshifting down straights. It was never really going to be an issue here. So we'll see how that pans out. That's it. Start of qualifying. We are now into qualifying zone. The clock has started to tick down. So green light is on. No car yet has left the grid. So we'll see how that one goes. I tell you what, I really do like the Racing Bulls yellow. Let me know your thoughts on that one in the comments. A few not so fan, it just to remind me of the yellow Jordan on the grid, and what a striking car livery that was. But I think it looks absolutely brilliant. A lot of people sort of, well, I think it's a bit like Marmite. Either you love it or you hate it. But let me know your thoughts on the comment on that one. Do you like the yellow livery on the Racing Bulls? For me, I think it looks brilliant. Shame it's just a one-off, to be honest with you. It's nice to see more colours on the car than just usual. We've got a lot of blue cars this year, haven't we? And in terms of bright colours, it seems like we've only got like the red of the Ferrari and the orange of the McLaren. Otherwise, they're not really that bright, and a lot of blues otherwise. I tell you what, the Cadillac livery does look pretty smart as well. I do like the black and white, so let's see how it goes. But all the cars now making their way on track. So far, we've only who's not on track. It looks like pretty much everyone's on track at the moment, anyway. So, yeah. So just to remind, obviously, we're going to use just the yellow medium tire in SQ1. Same in SQ2, and then obviously you just get the soft, just one set of softs basically in SQ3. So it's if you don't get more than one run on the softs, which seems to be the way, it's effectively almost like one-shot qualifying, isn't it, for these tires? So let's see how that one pans out for them. And we've got the Haas strolling around. I actually genuinely think we'll get another car. Oh, the two Mercedes nearly running each other. George went ahead of Antonelli, only just looked like they were going to knock each other out. Before we've got racing to McLaren's, to Mercedes. George Russell getting out just ahead of Kimi Antonelli. Is that George just sort of saying, I'm the boss here? Well, I think we read too much into this sort of stuff. Generally speaking, it's just like, just get out on track and do what you need to do. Let's see, is that working for you guys fine now? The whole, yes, you can see everybody on the grid on the live timings for you there. 7 minutes into this session. 7 minutes. Can't figure out a way to get this lined up with YTV. So mine's showing 7 minutes 30, and I'm like nearly 40 seconds behind what I'm watching and what's on the little timing stream. So bear with me on that one. Oh, that is a who's that? I can't even tell. An Aston Martin running off track. The helmet on that, the way that car looked on the Aston Martin, looked like you can see a driver in that car. Is that a new, something new done on that one? 6 minutes to go. We've got too far. We've got the two Ferraris on top. Both comfortably faster than Lewis, 4/10 off his teammate at the moment. So far, no timings done yet. Antonelli is still a bit off the pace of Charles Leclerc. Interesting. Leclerc fastest in sector 1, Antonelli fastest in sector 2, and George Russell fastest in sector 3. So it's Ferrari 1 sector and 2 Mercedes sectors for sector 2 and 3. Ferrari have obviously got their Macarena wing as well. Works very differently to what we've seen the Red Bulls look like. What we've seen in Max Verstappen, he's half a second down at the moment, at 29.8 from Max Verstappen. That's 0.6 off. Liam Lawson locking up again into turn 1. He hasn't got a lap on the board just yet. Lance Stroll with a huge lockup. And then seemed to stop. His car didn't seem to like that. Interesting from Lance Stroll. Aston Martin still look like they've got some work to do. They had issues as well in FP1. They didn't run out for the first 20 minutes. Engine issues apparently on that one slowed them out getting out. So Aston Martin not got over their issues just yet. Lando Norris was 0.7 up, but he's 0.7 up on Oscar Piastri's time. 30.1. Yeah, pretty good middle sector. Lando Norris is coming to the party. They're showing him up against Piastri, which is the knockout time at the moment. But I think incredible the view. You've got the view on Lando Norris's car. It looks pretty lively, that car. Fastest in sector 2, Lando Norris. He's on a lap, Lando. What a half a second. Lando Norris has come to the party. What a lap. Mercedes, McLaren holding back that pace, haven't they, in free practice? We didn't see anything like that, but half a second and Charles Leclerc is pretty special from Lando Norris. Oscar Piastri half a second down, but he's in the gap between Norris and Charles Leclerc. So we've got a McLaren 1 and 2 so far. Lance Stroll is out. No time set for him. I wonder if he's got more issues with the car on that one. That's a shame for Lance Stroll. He's going to start last. No progress from him so far. Fernando Alonso is 18th. That's an impressive time from Lando Norris. Half a second. That is something. That's quite a big jump, that. That's not something you just make out of nowhere, but he was fastest sector 1, sector 2. Charles Leclerc's out again. Fastest sector 3. He's a little bit down. He's about 0.2 down on what Lando Norris did in the sector 1 at the moment. Charles Leclerc pops in. Ooh, just a 100th, sorry, off Lando Norris. Nothing between the two, McLaren and Ferrari, at the moment. This is getting good. The Mercedes are just nowhere near in the picture at the moment. They are 5th and 9th. Geez, they'll be wanting a revision of these regulations, weren't they? The Toto Wolff was saying, take a scalpel to the regulations and not a baseball bat. I bet they wishing he'd not even asked for a scalpel at this rate. Unbelievable. I mean, I know everybody's gone away and done some upgrades. Mercedes haven't bought anything yet. I'm sure they'll be bringing something big when they do, but it's nothing at the moment, and it's, well, looking interesting so far. Lindblad, 12th fastest. Will that be enough to get him through? He's 2 positions up ahead of Liam Lawson. Lawson is on a lap. He's, where is he? He's 4/10 up on Lindblad. Is Liam Lawson in? Well, I don't know if that was his first sector. 9/10 off the fastest is George Russell. Albon 9th, not bad. Could we get Williams has lost weight? That's what they've said. Daddy Vowles actually was talking about they've actually managed to lose all the weight. They've got 10 kilos of weight. They've basically lost it, but the problem that they have is with the cost cap is that they can't just bring the weight loss straight away. It's not wise to do that because of the cost cap. So they're just waiting for end of life on certain parts and then bringing the new parts with the lighter weights when they can effectively, which is a bit of a shame actually. I didn't think the cost cap would affect people in that way, but there we have it. So SQ1 is done. Lance Stroll out. Fernando Alonso out. He's not really done a lap. He's 12 seconds off. Fernando Alonso. No real improvements here for them, have they? It's gone from bad to worse at the moment. Then we've got the 2 Cadillacs. Nothing changed there. Esteban Ocon will be disappointed. He's been out-qualified 5 places to Ollie Berman again. Liam Lawson is out. He's been out-qualified by Arvin Lindblad, 17th place. Ooh, what a horrible lockup from Esteban Ocon, and that's what saw him out in qualifying. Fernando Alonso, horrible. Yeah, he's just lucky to stay out of the wall. Fernando Alonso on his run. Couldn't actually see what that car was actually made of, to be honest, which is a real shame. But in terms of his best qualifying lap is, let's see where he lost most of the time. Well, effectively, the final sector and the middle sector, they were horrible. The fastest are doing 33.6s, and Fernando Alonso's best was a 34.8, 1.2 seconds in the middle sector alone. And well, it's just 8/10 in the final sector as well. And 1.3 in sector 1 is Fernando Alonso off the best. I mean, that's a bit of a kick in the teeth in almost every sector. He's nearly a second down on every sector. I mean, I know, and that's on it on a best lap. Theoretical lap time for Fernando Alonso was a 31.9, which would have seen him still finish where he did in the end. Even on theoretic lap time, 31.9, 31.9, yeah, and he did a 141.3. Oh, I mean, the only thing you can take away from that is that it's not 12-second gap. But absolutely, yep, Aston Martin do suck. Out of John. Miles off. A 31, absolutely right, Arjun. A 31.9 would have been a lot better, but it just only looks good on paper. He would have still been in 21st place with a 31.9. Bottas's was a 31.8. Still, I mean, they're a second off trying to just get into SQ2, aren't they, at the moment? Because 30.9 was the cutoff. Alex Albon just squeezing through on that one. Williams obviously have done some good work. They've made their way up. It was obviously the Aston Martins, followed by the two Cadillacs. And then we got the two Williams, but we've had a bit of a change. Is that just because we've seen Ocon and Lawson do two bad laps? I think so. When you look at where their teammates are, they both are ahead of the Williams, only just, but they're still ahead of the Williams. But it looks like now that's kind of close, isn't it, between the Haas and the Williams and the Racing Bulls here this weekend. So that's another battleground there. And then we see the Audis, Alpine, and well, we've got the Red Bull actually of Hadjar 30.3. That seems like the next battle, isn't it? Them three teams, which is Audi versus Audi and Alpine and the Red Bull. Max Verstappen was saying he's just hoping to get out of that midfield battle, but he's not quite there yet. I mean, he is best of the rest at the moment in 7th place. It is obviously McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes, the top dog at the moment. Wow. I didn't think the Aston Martin would be so far off. Yeah, absolutely right. Alpine, Red Bull, and Audi is going to be interesting. I actually really like Audi, and I tell you what I really like, and if you've not seen it, and I might do a video on this, but if you've seen some of the merchandise from the Audi guys, it's pretty bang on. I've got some of their Adidas racing boots. I might do a little video on that because I've got the Mercedes ones, but the Audis look pretty special. Not that I'm sponsored by them guys or anything like that. I wish I was. But I tell you what, the Audi merch does look pretty good. Obviously helped by being sponsored by Adidas. So, you know, they've got sort of best in class merch or gear when you come to them lot. Obviously done sports merchandising for many, many years, and that kind of shows. It says, you're hoping, Arjun, you're an Aston fan. Feel for you, mate. I'm a Fernando Alonso fan and not really an Aston Martin fan. I just don't like the whole Daddy Stroll, Lance Stroll position with Aston Martin. But yeah, I agree. It sucks to see Fernando Alonso that far down with all the hype going into this season with Adrian Newey being there. Oh, they're being a bit funny with Alpine's trying to get out. I mean, one of them was in the pit lane, Pierre Gasly, and Red Bull squeezed around him, just trying to get some batting. But Aston Martin is a clean brand. Are they? I'd like to know what you mean by that. Are Aston Martin a clean brand? I'm not so sure. I'd like to know what you mean by that, by a clean brand. Oh, aesthetic. Yeah, bit corporate for my liking, though. I'm not a Red Bull fan, but I do what Red Bull are like. And I like, if you're looking for stylish, then nothing beats Ferrari, to be fair to you. It's just the prestige of that prancing horse, isn't it? Something about them. Mercedes are a bit bossy for me, but I like Mercedes. Well, only because of Lewis Hamilton, to be fair to you. I'm a Lewis fan. As you might have told, but well, there we are. I have a few drivers that I like now, which is weird. I was always just a one man. It was just Schumacher. When he retired, I kind of lost my hero to follow, and then that soon became Lewis Hamilton. Although I did love Fernando Alonso in a Ferrari, I'm not going to lie. And wherever Fernando's gone, I've loved him. But Aston Martin being a stylish brand, yeah, they are a bit. The British Racing Green is nice. Grid's just likable now compared to a couple of years ago. Yeah, it is. It is. I think once you, if you like me, if you had one, no, no Mazepin, no Mazepin helps a lot. Yeah, that's what it should be, Mazepin. that does help a lot. He was a bit of a character, wasn't he? We've had a few like that over the years. But you're right. But I think for me personally, once you've lost your hero, and he was like a god when I was growing up, was Schumacher. You then were a bit lost of who do I follow, and it was Ferrari through and through. And then anybody in a Ferrari, kind of like, apart from Vettel, I'd never got on with supporting Vettel, even when he was in a Ferrari. I just didn't like him so much at Red Bull for whatever reason that was, which is interesting. And I just love what Fernando did. And I think that's why I kind of started to grow to like Lewis Hamilton. I would never really like Lewis when Schumacher was about, to be fair. And same with, and that's what has happened. I think it's the kind of driver that I like is a Lewis Hamilton, a Max Verstappen, a Schumacher who was right on the edge, aggressive, close to being dirty, but would do everything. And it was just cutthroat, full on aggression when the helmet was on, and when you're out of it, you can just be who you are. And that's when they first came in, they were like, oh my God, shaking things up like Lewis Hamilton did. And you thought, oh, he's a bit of a, I don't like his attitude. And then you kind of grow to love him. And then it grew to Max Verstappen, because I absolutely couldn't stand Max Verstappen. But now there's something about the way he just races is you can't help but not like him. Fernando Alonso is absolutely the same. Fernando in a top car would be, your heart's going to break when Alonso or Hamilton end up retiring. Yeah, mine too, to be fair with you, mate. Cannot agree more with them comments. SQ2, 5 minutes in. We've not really just been talking about greats and legends at the moment. We forgot about what's happening up at the top. Charles Leclerc top 4/10 on Mercedes of George Russell. Oscar Piastri is fastest middle sector, a 10th up. It's looking like a battle between the Ferrari and the McLaren at the moment. What is going on? Enjoy your night out, Arjun. Great chatting with you with your comments. It's absolutely brilliant. I'm enjoying this. Someone to watch it with. My fans, a fan, should I say? Enjoy your night out with your girl. SQ2. This is coming to life. I was hoping we'd get some action with qualifying. And I know we didn't like the way the cars were going around track and with all that talk of the lift and coasting. The reality is that as much as that is still massive, if we still get super tight qualifying, does that satiate your appetite? Does that do it for you? Is that what you need? You need that battle. Do you need that car on the edge, or do you need it to be mega close and any car can take top spot? And that's competition, and sometimes that tops a car being right on the edge and a car being, well, not right on the edge, but really close lap times. And that's the big choice that we have to make. But as it stands, SQ3 with 3 minutes to go. Charles Leclerc is your top dog, followed by Oscar Piastri as we watch Kimi Antonelli running wide. Struggling to slow down there, Kimi Antonelli. It went really well round here. Lock up for him. George Russell, followed by Max Verstappen. He's obviously jumped. That's a good lap from him. He's ahead of Kimi Antonelli, then followed by Lando Norris in 7th. Franco Colapinto up in 8th. Isaac Hadjar 9th. He's a little bit, half a tenth or 7/10 of Max Verstappen is Isaac Hadjar. He'd be hoping to close that gap before the end of SQ2. Hopefully he's just not a mistake on his run there. Pierre Gasly, P10. That rounds off the top 10. So far in the drop zone, we have Arvid Lindblad 16th, Behrman 15th, then the 2 Williams, then the 2 Audis. Well, I think the Williams will be happy if they can finish 13th and 14th, if especially considering where they were pre this break. That's pretty jump up. I mean, that's quite a jump from where they would normally finishing, either mixing it with the Cadillac or just ahead of them. But now they're mixing it with a Haas and a Racing Bull. Racing Bull seems to have dropped a little bit. They were in the fight with the Audis, weren't they? But Audis have done something. Let's hope they can get off the grid. That's the big thing that they hope they can do. Talking about getting off the grid, was an interesting point that we've seen Kimi Antonelli saying that actually it's what's it called? Anyway, yeah. Kimi Antonelli saying the issues that he's had with his race starts is actually something that's baked in. It's something that they can't. It's not a quick fix, so it's not just him. There's actually some sort of issue with the car on that one. Hence why I actually was quite surprised when Oscar Piastri, when he finally got away at a first Grand Prix in Japan, he got away brilliantly well, did Oscar. And well, we've seen the Mercedes struggle, so it's clearly something else that Mercedes have. Is not a pure engine thing. It's probably the way the whole car works with their engine, and that's an issue that they're having. Like Antonelli said, it's something that's baked in, and we won't get a quick fix straight away. So let's keep an eye on that. Cars now just warming to do their final SQ2 runs. We've got the two, Bortoleto and looks like Isaac Hadjar right behind him. Oh, I'm not sure you want it to be that or not. It looks like that Red Bull has dropped off. That was his last lap. Bortoleto is currently in the drop zone, so an important lap for him. He's so far out-qualified Nico Hülkenberg really, really well this season. That's been a real good one for him. So Charles Leclerc at 28.3, slightly faster than what he did before. 2 purple sectors, sector 1 and sector 2 for him. A theoretical lap of 28.2 for Charles Leclerc. Bortoleto is a thousandth up on Pierre Gasly. Well, a thousandth is a thousandth, and if it gets you up into Q3, you'll be very, very happy with that, Gabby Bortoleto. Massively oh, it looks like he's gone wide in that final sector there, Bortoleto. Yellow sectors as well, nothing. 4/10 down, and that was a horrible lap from Gabby Bortoleto. We now have the final 6. Lindblad, 16th place. Then by the 2 Williams, 15th for Sainz, 14th for Alex Albon, 13th for Ollie Berman, and then comes the 2 Audi, Hulkenberg, and then Bortoleto in 11th. Bortoleto again qualifies Nico Hulkenberg. But what do we make of Ollie Berman's? Will he be disappointed with that one? Better and a really good qualifying session from Franco Colapinto. So far, he is ahead, half a second nearly ahead of Pierre Gasly in that session. So we'll take good confidence from that. Will Franco Colapinto getting up into P8? That's actually a really, really good lap from him. Good confidence boost for him heading into SQ3. He needs to get the job done there, and then continue that in the race. So that was really good to see from Franco. Isaac Hadjar has got a little bit of work to do. He's 7/10, 7.5 tenths, 750 is 29,750 and a 29 flat for Max Verstappen. He's got fined 7/10, or the best part of that. So he'll be hoping he can find some pace and close up to Max Verstappen. We've seen him within a 10th or two, if not beating Max Verstappen in the early couple of races, and was really, really close to him in a lot of the qualifying sessions in the first 3 races of the season. So not quite liking it so far is Isaac Hadjar. Hopefully he can get on top of it and get a lot closer to him. But let's see how that one pans out. And get the track map out of the way, make it a little bit bigger for you guys to watch as we get warmed up. Nearly there for the final Q3 shootout. Effectively 1 lap now, isn't it, on the soft tire that you get to do. But really interesting so far. So it looks like a shootout with the Ferrari and the McLarens at the moment. 2 Ferraris. Lewis Hamilton's got a bit of work to do, isn't he? He's half a second off Charles Leclerc, and a lot of that is losing 3/10 in sector 2 and a 10th in sector 3. He's not miles off, about a 10th only in sector 1. Carlos Sainz, strong words, with 3 steps behind. Still making mistakes, still got big steps to do. After an hour and a half, we're still in the same state. It's getting loud, isn't it? The McLarens have come to the party, and Charles Leclerc is showing his class. He is a qualifying man, and he's not always done it, but he's showing he's the man again after this break. But Norris this time now is a little bit away off, isn't he? But his theoretical lap time is actually faster than Oscar Piastri's. But Charles Leclerc's is even faster than what he did. A 28.2 for him, a 28.4 for Piastri, 28.3 for Norris. So that would see if Leclerc, Norris, Piastri, and then Hamilton. And then Antonelli. And then George Russell, followed by Verstappen. If we go on theoreticals, it's really interesting. So we're nearly there. Not long now till we get underway for SQ3. Who will come out on top? I'm actually a little bit surprised that we've got the difference that we've got. I didn't expect we'd see the 2 Ferraris and McLaren really bringing this fight to Mercedes. I really thought the Mercedes would still have enough in it, despite these changes. I know they were only 2 or 3 tenths behind the Mercedes were. The Ferraris, McLaren showed some really good pace. Oscar did in Japan. So It looked like they were getting on top of this car. Obviously, the brake has really, really helped them. And they have proved time and again that they are the team to be in-season upgrades. They've done it for the last 2 years, where they just seem to just be bang on every single time. And can we see them embarrass Mercedes again? Everybody talking about Mercedes being top dog. Only 3 races in, and if we suddenly get a change in the turn of the tide, and we start seeing McLaren taking race wins from Mercedes, this championship looks suddenly like we'll be wide open. And we can say the same if Ferrari start doing it, because they've been close behind. They're just following Mercedes home at the moment. And if they can go on suddenly start winning some races, it'll be like Ferrari are the team on top. So let's see how that one pans out. I mean, it's I would say it's a big 6-7 minutes. Everything could change, and we might get a very different qualifying for the race. We've seen that before as a team sort of get on top of this. Every session is a big, huge learning session for these guys in these cars, because they can only do so much in the sims and back in the factory on the CFD, things like that. So when they get on track, they're learning what they were doing in theory. Is it in reality when it comes out on track? So it'd be big for every team, really. So what they can take away from this one. So it's waiting for the first cars. Alex Albon with the track limits, potential violation. No, he's very, very close to that. Stealing a lot of that curb. Alex Albon. We have a Mercedes and a Ferrari going out. Soft timer time. We've got effectively just this is the shootout. You want to be almost last but not last in some ways for this final 1-lap shootout. Nice shiny tires for everyone. So we've got Lewis is out ahead of Charles Leclerc. This is where it gets good now, isn't it? This is the bit where the nerves kick in. You get that feeling in your belly and you're waiting for that nervous butterflies in your stomach moment. This, isn't it? This is one of the best feelings, as well as a race start, I think, for me. These last few minutes where you get a bit nervous. And if I go quiet, that's what's happening. Stomach's eating me up inside. Who's going to be out on top at the moment? And I'm fingers crossed for the Ferraris, but can they do it? It's the McLarens look strong. Ferrari just seems to have just a little bit more on them, don't they, at the moment? So just 3 minutes 20, we're knocking down George Russell is the first to start his lap. So we'll see. Then will be Lewis Hamilton. I think then Lando Norris after him. And then Pierre Gasly. Then Colapinto. And then Oscar Piastri. Charles Leclerc is one of the last. No, Charles Leclerc. 30 0.2 for George Russell. That's not good enough. A 29.7, a brilliant sector 1. The best from Lewis Hamilton when it's needed. He's come out with that out of nowhere, hasn't he? A 29.6 for Lando Norris. He's half a tenth up on Lewis Hamilton's first sector. 29.674, even faster for Charles Leclerc. He takes the purple sector 1. So far it's Charles Leclerc, top dog. Or Lewis is a bad middle sector. He's 4/10 down. Lewis Hamilton and George Russell. A purple sector, a 33.5, a 33.4 for Lando Norris. George Russell, a 28.4. Fastest sector 3 as well, 24.7. Interesting to see. Norris looks quick. Lewis Hamilton's lost it all in the middle sector. Yeah, he's 2/10 off George Russell. Is Lewis Hamilton? He's 28.4 for Russell. Lando Norris 27.8. Charles Leclerc's always lost a lot of time in the middle sector, but he had enough in the sector 1. It's a final sector between Leclerc and Norris. He's not done it. 4/10. Lando Norris, the pole man from Charles Leclerc by the looks of it, unless Oscar Piastri can pull off something special. He's still not done his sector 2, or he's not come on my sector 2. Has Oscar Piastri? Where is Oscar Piastri? A 33.6 is a bit slower, isn't he, Oscar Piastri? You need something brilliant, Oscar Piastri, in the sector. Max Verstappen, what a final sector, 24.6. Lando Norris is still looking like the man at the moment. Oscar Piastri. What's happened with Max Verstappen's time? He was 3rd ahead of Leclerc, but he's not now. Now 4th. So it looks like we've got the 2 McLarens brought by Charles Leclerc, Max Verstappen, George Russell, Hamilton. I'll be disappointed that Hamilton. He is 4/10. That's a gap we've seen all qualifying session between the 2 Ferrari guys. Oh, Max Verstappen was behind Charles Leclerc. I'm just a bit blind there. But can we see Charles Leclerc do it from 4th to 1st? I mean, we've seen the McLarens get really good starts, but it's Norris followed. Oh, Antonelli with a lap. Kimi, where have you come from? What a lap that is. A brilliant middle sector from Kimi Antonelli, and he was right on the point with sector 3 as well, wasn't he? So, front row. What a... Wow. Lando Norris takes sprint pole position, a 27.8. A brilliant lap from him. He's 2/10 off faster than the Mercedes of Kimi Antonelli, I think that's an absolute brilliant lap from Kimi. I don't think the Mercedes was front row territory. For all the world, it looked like it was a fight between McLaren and Ferrari. Ferrari will actually go away disappointed. 4th and 7th they finish. Charles Leclerc was leading, Q1, wasn't he? And Q2. We're definitely in Q2. There was nothing between the 2 Ferraris and the McLarens, but when it's mattered, has he made a mistake? No, it didn't look like a massive. Small mistake from... 4 mistakes from Charles Leclerc, possibly. That's what's cost him. His 4/10. Charles Leclerc. It looked like it was bad. So as I say, we'll run a rundown of the top 10. So it's Lando Norris pole position, followed by a brilliant lap from Kimi Antonelli to get himself front row. He just needs to get a good start now to keep that or put some pressure on Norris. Oscar Piastri in third place. Really good lap from him. Charles Leclerc, disappointing, I'd say, in the end. P4 looked really promising all session. Max Verstappen in P5, I think he'll be pretty happy with that. He's beaten a Mercedes and a Ferrari. That's probably the best he could have hoped for. He's like he's wanted. He's jumped and skipped that mid-table battle. He's joining the big boys up at the front. Then followed by George Russell, then Lewis Hamilton, a disappointing P7, I've got to say. Franco Colapinto, a brilliant qualifying session from him in P8. He out-qualifies his teammate Pierre Gasly. What a brilliant job he's done. Isaac Hadjar in P9. How far back is he? It was nearly a second back. Isaac Hadjar on Max Verstappen. That's to get into the territory of sort of second driver curse, isn't it? I mean, it's too early to say stuff like that because he's been pretty solid so far this season. But after the break, he'd be hoping he was again within a tenth or two. He was around 0.3 behind. Max Verstappen was Isaac Hadjar, so I think he'd be a little bit disappointed with the session. That's the kind of gap we've seen. It was 0.7 in SQ2. It's grown to a second in SQ3 when it's mattered. Pierre Gasly, he's been out qualified by his teammate, but he is P10. Obviously, points just up into P8 for the sprint race. But there we have it. That is the qualifying session done. That is your top 10. What a grid we've got. Can Kimi Antonelli hold on to that second spot? Will we see Charles Leclerc go from fourth to first again? Who knows? There has been some small changes to the race start, so we'll see how big of a change, what impact that has had on the race starts, because so far what has made the racing really, really interesting has been the two Ferraris getting mega starts and keeping the McLaren Mercedes honest. Now it looks like, well, they need to keep and claw back the Mercedes, McLarens. I mean, Lando Norris was a little bit bullish going into this weekend. Andrea Stella at the start of the weekend sort of playing that down a little bit, but they've come good. A first and third for McLaren. Will we see a huge change when it comes to the main qualifying and the race? As we know with these sprint race weekends, that often happens, but well, what a grid we've got. I mean, I'm excited for that. The racings, we'll see how big of an impact and a change that has. Hopefully that'll make... The sprint races have been one of them where it's not always been too lively. Will we see weird and wonderful overtaking here in Miami? Who knows? But the grid is set. It looks like it should be exciting, interesting. I think everybody will be on the mediums for this sprint race because they look like they'll be absolutely bulletproof. And last, we might see someone do a surprise on the softs because we know Deg here is low in an order just to hope to make up some early positions at the start. But we've seen with these regulations, it's quite difficult to hold people back if you aren't like, you know, if you're not just, you need to be a fair bit off like similar pace. If you are a few tenths slower, then you are going to lose that gap, aren't you? So we might see someone risk that. Who knows? Because of, like I said, the Deg is low here. But yeah, what an interesting grid. Looking forward to it. Some clear winners and losers. And clearly at the moment, the Mercedes look like the big losers out of this weekend. Kimi Antonelli restoring some faith in them, getting them in second place. But there we have it. What a exciting sprint qualifying session we've had. Can't wait for the race tomorrow. 5 o'clock. I'll be here doing a live. Join me there. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment. As always, guys. See you on the next one.